Hi guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Sunday, June 12th. So today's kind of a big day. So I am going to do just a little bit of tarot along with some spiritual guidance from my intuition. And then, of course, I'm going to talk about the astrology, because today is the first quarter of the moon, which is going to be in Libra. And then we have Mercury moves into Gemini today. So we have a lot of interesting energy. As you can see, I'm just I really like to show you guys everything so you kind of see that I don't have anything to do with what goes down. But then people complain because they can't see me, so I don't know what to do. So let's try this. So I've shuffled the deck. I'm going to move it around because that's what I do, and look for something that just jumps out to me and says, hello, I'm the message for today. And this card jumped out to me right here. So this card is the Eight of Cups, and it's very significant because in this energy, it does have a lot of emphasis on the moon, but also the sun on your desires. And right now, we have Venus and Gemini conjunct right now, Venus and the sun in Gemini conjunct right now. So the sun does play a large part in this quarter of the moon, and you can see this looks kind of like a little, well, it's a sliver of a moon, but definitely plays a part in today. So this will be our present indicator. Just trying to straighten the cards. They take a little bit to straighten out. Oh, okay. So I'm just going to lay out the spread so that I kind of just have, to me, this is my spiritual guidance. And then astrology is just kind of like, to me, that statisticals, logic-based. Sorry, I get distracted so easy, especially in this energy. Okay. So today, we have the first quarter of the moon, which is going to be in Libra. We have no more mutable grand cross, but what we do have is a mutable T-square at this time still. Saturn is still at the helm of that, still at the top of it. And Neptune and Jupiter are still in opposition. Neptune's in Pisces and Jupiter is in Virgo energy. So there's a desire to balance this, and through these squares, I think there is a way to look at the yin and the yang in this energy. These oppositions just basically kind of show us in energy what we need to consider. And I really like that at this time, all this energy is taking place at the same time, because a Libra moon is a pro and con energy all on its own. It tries to take a look at what's fair and just for all. And when making this decision, and the first quarter of the moon does represent decision making. See, we plant seeds at the beginning of the new moon, and then we kind of evaluate. By the time we get to that quarter moon, we kind of go through this just natural evaluation process. Is what we're doing working? Is everything that we have put in place, right for us to do? And then we take some risks. Sometimes we have to kind of shift people, shift our relationships. Libra is a very relationship area. The sun and Venus are in Gemini conjunct, which means our desires are very much on the line for what we want in our partnerships and our closest bonds and in our closest unions. And so we've got to make some very tough decisions, because what we're really thinking about, and Libra can represent this, is manipulating the situation to get what we want. And in order to do that, we kind of have to put the pawns in place. It's a very intellectual energy combined with all this Gemini energy and our sun and and Venus, which rules our money. And I mean, you can understand the amount of value that we're placing on this decision that we're making kind of right around now. Now, this decision is something that I think that we have to take a look at. So if we're talking like on a spiritual level, you know, when I told you guys that we had, you know, the Eight of Cups in this is an emotional based decision. This has something to do with us evaluating what we want and what we idealize about our emotional investments. But we're also taking a look at the moon up here as an inspiration, as that point of like, we're really moving into ourselves, and we're really trying to feel out the situation, as much as what we're trying to connect to is some sort of what we desire from, what's the desired result from the situation. And as we take a look at this, logic is going to start to take place in these emotional based decisions. And I know that can be kind of difficult. So the outcome of this is we want this Magician. You know, we want this, we want to consider all, you know, we want to consider, you know, what we tangibly want as far and intangibly, but something that will produce value to us. And then what we want is some emotional fulfillment. We want logic, it to be logic and rational. And, you know, what we really desire deeply is that there be enough passion behind this decision. So are we still passionate about what we planted in the beginning? Sometimes what we plant in the beginning of the month is, with that new beginning, is a concept, but it's not a reality. So in this mutable T-square that we have going on, what that can mean is that we idealize something and we planted the seed in something that we idealized. But when we get to the first quarter of the moon, we realize that what we idealized was never going to materialize. And I guess that this is a very materialistic energy with Venus and Gemini, with Venus conjunct the sun. It's a very superficial and a very materialistic energy. I mean, this is all about getting exactly what you want on a very superficial level. But I think what we're being asked to be is very realistic. Look, you know, normally I don't endorse superficial ideals, but what we really need to do is take a look at what we get from what we're investing in right now. So the decision that we're making in the future, in this 30-day cycle, as we're moving forward up to the full moon, that cumulative point. So we go from the quarter moon to the cumulative point. The decision that we're making, and see the moon up here, this, you know, the sliver of the moon is saying we've got to make a decision right now. We've got to make a decision, and I think this needs to be an intuitive decision. This needs to be a decision where we go within and we follow our gut in this energy. Absolutely logic and reason plays into this, because we have the swords here, and swords represent, you know, just the facts, and you're taking a look and you're weighing the pros and cons, and it's just, you know, it's very rational thinking, but you have this intuitive side up here, this moon, as you see, that definitely compels you to make some different decisions. Now, the decisions that we have are confusing. We are in a mutable T-square. We just got done with the mutable Grand Cross, and you know, we had a lot of opposing energy, and we still do. We still have yin and yang energy, and as we come up to this first quarter of the moon, it in itself is a yin and yang energy, because it's a pro and con energy. It's a very indecisive energy. A Libra energy can be an indecisive energy, because it considers both sides of something. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot at stake. And so I think that that card completely shows that, you know, these emotional investments, if we make this decision moving forward, there are both pros and cons to these decisions. There's things that we still need to figure out emotionally. There's things that will still need to be revealed, and that will be revealed when we get to that the next day, which is on Monday, which Neptune goes into retrograde. So we will get very, very realistic, as Saturn plays a very big role in what we're investing in. You know, the outcome is emotional fulfillment. This is Libra energy, although it is a very intellectual energy, it actually represents what we deeply want in a partnership level, or in a union-based level, or on a very we want to emotionally feel secure in some way. For some of us, that's through our relationships and companionships, bonds and unions, and for some of it that has to do with money and security, and it has to do with combining resources so that we can feel secure that way. So I believe that, and there are so many cups in this, even the advice card, as we go down the line is, we've got to consider the messages. Now, the messages that we will be receiving during this new moon, during this first quarter of the moon, when Mercury goes into Gemini, is, the messages are going to be deeply emotional, and they may not feel altogether good. It is a sign that there is some newness to the situation, but that it's going to be a difficult emotional experience initially. That doesn't mean that that's what it's going to be during the long haul. Now, what we're trying to get to is the King of Pentacles, and this is in my advice line, and he's very secure, and he's very stable, and he's very grounded, and he's very, he's got a lot of authority, he's got a lot of control over his situation, and so, but in order to do that, we have to deal with this emotional issue that we have, and a lot of us, if I were to look at it, this is actually if I were to go like this, it's actually looking back at the past in the deck. So this is our blocked energy over our current situation. So we've done a lot of things wrong, maybe emotionally, or we've made a lot of wrong emotional investments, or every time we try to emotionally invest in something, there's some supreme disappointment. Now, if we were to look forward, we would see that there is fullness, and there is a rich consideration to this. But it's very hard right now to not have some fear when making emotional-based decisions, because these emotional-based decisions have always led to something where I feel like we've lost. Moving forward, we have decisions, and I always look at this card. If you were to look at this card upright, although it's pointing toward the past in this situation, excuse me, it's actually, sorry, I have to make sure that you guys see this right. It's pointing toward the future. So if we were to look at this and it's pointing toward the future, see how short this passionate, this thing that we were very passionate about in the past was, and see how long and fulfilling, and the world is facing this something moving forward, this passionate pursuit moving forward. What we really need to understand is that we were deficient in the past, or we were making poor decisions, or we were investing in passions that never had the possibility of giving us what we inevitably want. So we're in decision-making mode. Very clear by these cards. It's also clear in astrology. In astrology, what the first quarter of the moon is decision-making time. But what's really important about this decision-making time is that we consider what's fair, what's just. We're patient in this energy. There is a feeling of love, and you're wanting some sort of harmonious resolution to some of these issues. And I think what's super compelling in this energy about these harmonious resolutions is that they're very heart-based. They're about our deepest relationships, bonds, and unions. They're about our investments. And when I say that investments, I mean something that we're making a commitment to for a very long time. Whenever I think of Libra energy, I just think that we're making a commitment. So this could be some sort of contract that you're trying to, to try to solidify, or you're trying to find common ground in, or for some of you, this could be making a harmonious resolution in a court dispute where it considers both sides, it considers what's fair for all, but that whatever is fair and just in the situation, I think that's very important at this time. Mercury in Gemini at this time is, when Mercury goes into Gemini, I think we're going to feel a little bit more able to make these types of decisions in this capacity. Gemini is very good, Gemini energy when Mercury's in Gemini, it's very good at switching, being adaptable, looking at one thing and then looking at another thing and looking at them equally. It is considering all facts. It's very superficial. So, hey, here's all the situations that we have going on. Here's the ways that we can resolve them. Here's the ways that we can start to research them. Here's the way that we can start to problem solve all these areas. So it's a very destined energy. I think if you're trying to make some decisions and these decisions need to be made somewhat quickly, I think that finally you have the energy that is going to help you do that. There is some confusion because of the emotional intensity that I feel that is involved in this first quarter of the moon. And, the full moon that's coming after this is our it's our second full moon that's going to be in Sagittarius, guys. And that second full moon that's in Sagittarius is an accumulative full moon from an issue that's been going on for a couple months. At least the cumulative buildup has been happening for a couple months. So for some of us, it's that this is really going to open you up to something, looking at something in a different perspective. So in order to do this, we have to have all of this energy kind of pulling us in 4 different directions, which we're kind of like, whoa, I didn't even know that situation existed. And there's so many different facets to this decision. And it's opened me up to something that I probably had either shut off or hadn't even considered before this point. And then there's such an emotional investment in this situation, but we take it a step further beyond that, and this is a very cumulative full moon of 2 months. So you guys have to understand just how big this first quarter is. This first quarter is going to help you make that cumulative decision toward that big ending that's been building for these couple months in Sagittarius. The ending could be that we just start to open ourselves. We look at the world. We look at the world in a whole new way. And look at how long the staff is compared to what it was before. There are so many opportunities. There's so many things to be passionate about. There's so many things that we haven't even considered. And the possibilities with the world are endless in this energy. But what we have to do is let go of this. We're holding on to these belief systems or these ways of looking at this particular topic or a solution to this issue. Maybe some of us are holding on to the solution that could never be fulfilling, but in this energy, you're looking at it from a different angle, and all of a sudden there is a different mindset. Love is tough in this energy. It's tough. I think for many of you, this is decision-making energy as far as relationships. I think for some of you, what this is really getting down to is, what our masculine and our feminine desires are at the same time. So masculine energy is our sexual energy. It is our ability to get our immediate needs met. It is a very pleasurable energy. It is an energy that it allows us to be aware. It allows us to persevere. And then we have the feminine energy, and this energy allows us to be very nurturing and loving and get fulfilled on a very deep level. This has everything to do with communication at this point. And, what's very difficult about this energy is that there is an opposition with Mars in this energy. Mercury and Mars are going to be in opposition. And so there is something you guys need to talk about if it's in your relationships. There's resolutions that you guys need to come to as a partnership. This isn't a masculine or a feminine, and you guys get to be I had a conversation about this once, and sometimes when you're in a relationship, you kind of feel like you're a you and that person is a them. So there's these two people that are that person and that person. But when you're in a relationship, you're an us. And so everything you do is an us. So every decision you make is an us. And for some of us, what's been very difficult about this energy is I don't think we're ready to make us decisions because we're so busy trying to resolve I decisions, self decisions. And so I believe that for some of us, what we're trying to do is we're trying to consider the word us a duality. We're no longer just an I, we're a two. So there's a duality that we've got to consider with every single thing that we do, where we didn't really have that before for some of us. And so for some of us, when we have to make decisions and there's a duality, there's a little bit of resentment. Sometimes there's a little bit of remorse. There's a little bit of reflective of like the freedom that we used to have. But then there could be this very desirable relationship that makes you think of an us, of a we, making a decisions based on two, or making a two-sided decision, or making a decision where twos are very important. To me, the energy in here is you've got to make some changes, and they can't be self-oriented. Because in this energy, it's a dualistic energy. It's about something that's 2 plus. There's more to the situation. There's more to the decisions. There's more to this. And as you consider that, of course, you start to get into the magician's mindset where, wow, we're looking at things from multiple angles and I can really pull this off. Like I have a really great idea. I really can. But you have to go through this time of like, looking at things of what you tangibly want, what you're passionate about, what's heart-based, and then what will make you have a committed level. And all that energy is still at play because we just went through a mutable Grand Cross that had every element. It had water, fire, it had air, and it had earth. And so that was a lot being thrown at us. So with this Gemini energy coming in, we're going to start to be able to shift back and forth. We're going to look at everything really logically. Even our emotions, I think we're going to look at a little bit more logically, especially with this Libra experience. And then I think once we even get into this Sagittarius full moon and we have this cumulative energy, it's going to be based on the higher purpose, on an elevated concept. These relationships that are karmically being drawn to you are more twin flames than maybe karmic. And so for some of us, there's a dissolution of relationships because they were karmic endings. They were always destined to be an ending. They were a growth relationship. And then for some of us, we're connecting with those twin flames. We're connecting with those people that is going to allow us to grow exponentially for a very, very long committed time with somebody. And there is its own sense of growth. It just depends on where you are at in your karmic journey. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to tell you how this is going to affect your sun, your moon, and your rising. So hi, dear Aries. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Mercury moves into Gemini, and it's the first quarter of the moon. And today, a yod starts in your energy. Mars in Scorpio is going to be at the top of this yod. A yod is a very significant question from the universe. It is a very fated question. It is a question where it kind of looks like this in your astrology. There are 2 quincunxes, and at the base of it is a sextile. So your ruler is sitting in a past-based energy. And at the base of the energy, we have 2 very forward energies, very forward energies that are very passionate about the future. They're very passionate about opportunity, growth, and expansion. And they're at the base of this. So if you were to allow these 2 to make your decisions, they would be completely opportunistic, enthusiastic. They would shake, rattle, and roll your life. They would shake things up a bit. They would shake you out of the past. They would shake up some of these conservative thought processes. And they would allow you to have some growth. But for some of you, the decision is letting go of the past, letting go of things that hurt you. So for some of you, this is taking a look at everything on a very superficial level. What do I need to make myself happy? What do I need to feel fulfilled in my life? So for some of you, the decisions are tough, right? The decisions right now are super tough. There's a lot of emotional consequence to any decision that I think some of you are making right now. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of expansion for growth, but there's a lot of, I think, confusion about what decision to make right now. We have Mercury in Gemini, going into the house that represents communication for you, which is really good. So if some of you really needed to talk about this, you may feel compelled to talk. And some of you are going to talk a lot in this energy. Aries can talk a ton in this energy, and it can be very, very, you can be a little bit overwhelming. I'm not going to lie, because there's so much that is pent up that you need to get out into the open. There's so many thoughts about emotions and the emotional intensity that I think that you're deeply feeling. You're really weighing things out in your mind. And so when you're weighing things out in your mind, you desire a lot of input. You really, really talk about these situations. Because you're caught between the past and the future. It's very reflective, but at the same time, you feel compelled, just like everybody else is in this energy, to move forward. You're looking at the pros and cons. You're looking at, even in my worst relationships, I think at some point, there was something that I idealized about that relationship, or I wanted. And so, the tough part about this relationship is you're going to have to value what you desire, value relationships enough, value partnerships, value significant issues in your life. What this boils down to is, if you're going to get somewhere in life, and if you're going to build, and if you're going to have success, and if you're going to get these things that you wish to attain, there is a duality situation to these that you have to consider. And for some of you, there is some reality that you have to face. Now, during the moon in Libra, this is a very big area. It's going to provoke some change in your life, because this moon is in partnerships, bonds, and unions for you. And so this is all about relationships for you, all about significant bonds and unions. I definitely believe in that in the past, for some of you, there has been difficulty. There has been a division. There has been a division between masculine and feminine energy, where you can't merge. And your masculine energy is in a reflective state, and your feminine energy is being activated in this energy. So you're very emotional in this energy, I think a lot more than you would be in the past. You need to consider this a period of growth. You need to consider this, that the forward energy is in the sextile. You need to figure out what you want, and this has everything to do with what you deeply identify with. But you have to think of the duality of all of these decisions that you're making. Be sure that you weigh out the pros and cons in this energy. It's very, very important in the decisions that you're making moving forward. It's important to communicate and talk a lot in this energy as you're deciphering information, and as you're processing some of the ideas that you have, these very forward-thinking ideas that you have. I think in this energy, you're just trying to make sense of everything that's happened, make sense of what is being expected, and what you're intuitively being compelled to revisit in your life. This energy is a very forward-moving energy, but because your ruler is in this yod, I think it can be very difficult for you to understand that before you get this forward movement, you're going to have a little bit of intensity around it to challenge you to move forward. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Taurus. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Mercury moving into Gemini and the first quarter of the moon in Libra. So, Mercury moving into Gemini has some very significant indicators for you. This has a lot to do with what you value, who you value, and why you value it, which I think why is the most important question that you're going to be asking yourself. When you're making these decisions, why is important? Is it rational, logical? Are you intuitively being guided to make this decision? For some of you, there's a little bit of confusion as far as the emotional aspect of this issue. Making a decision could have consequences. You're just trying to align yourself with the right consequence. So I feel like in this energy, you're a bit mentally manipulative. because you're really wanting a desired result. You really don't want to be disappointed in this energy. I'm sorry, it kind of goes like this, I guess, if you were to look at it. In the past, you know where you went wrong. In the future, you desire emotional fulfillment. There is a little bit of reflective energy in this that we have to be mindful of. Your energy right now is there are some combined energies right now that are caught in a yod. And a yod is a fated, destined, questioned from the universe. This is a very fated time for you. And it's a very spiritual time. And it's a time when making a decision will have a dramatic effect on how you move forward. So I think for you, in this area, at the top of the yod is your relationships, your significant bonds and unions. This first quarter moon is going to be in a square, which suggests to me that there are habits and rituals and routines that you have done in past relationships that no longer serve you. Again, I kind of keep going back to this card where I think of you're almost like a hamster on a wheel. You keep doing the same thing in these emotional situations and they keep having these same results. So there's a need to make some changes to get some emotional fulfillment. But again, I think what goes into this situation is I think there's a little bit of reflection. There's a little bit of quiet contemplation. And that I'm saying that in Gemini energy, and you wouldn't think that I would say that in Gemini because Gemini is Mercury is moving into Gemini. You wouldn't think that you would have some sort of independent aspect to this emotional issue. But I think it's being intuitively guided. I think your senses are telling you to kind of pull in with him and seek some healing. This is a very private time for you. I think that there's a lot at stake in this energy. I think there's a lot, because see, what we're trying to do is get to here. In this 30-day cycle, as we're building up to that beautiful full moon. And as you see, this is a very happy scenario. This is emotional fulfillment, very, very abundant energy. But in order to get to the abundant energy, I think you need to make some very tough decisions. And I'm going to tell you right now, because this card resonates with me with Taurus. It's a very Taurian masculine energy. In this card, and what I think it deeply represents is that you need to stand firm and stand tall and stand strong in this energy. You need to make some decisions that are they're very grounded and consistent decisions. So for some of you, to me in this energy, I feel like you need a lot of patience when making decisions. And this energy, there's something that you deeply want that is very, you're very passionate about in the future during this yod. And so some of the things that you're going to be contemplating in this yod is that in the past, I was very deficient. I settled, it just doesn't feel very good. And I'm really got my eyes set on this. This staff being longer than the past and combined with the world. It seems like just the world is at your fingertips. The hope, the dream, the desire is at your fingertips. But, when we make decisions like this, we've got to think about looking at things from a very different perspective. When we have this moon in Libra and the squaring off, I really think that the routines, habits, and rituals are going to be very important. Health is going to be very important, mental health and physical health. So for some of you, this could be making a decision. I see a lot of cups here. I'm not going to lie. So I see that for some of you, there could be some issues with drinking, addiction, excessive tendencies that I see in energy that I think you're trying to make a decision to move away from, that I think is very hard. I think that this is taking a toll on your very closest and dearest bonds and unions. This is splitting you kind of down the middle between your masculine and your feminine energy. For some of you, this is making you feel very vulnerable in your feminine energy as you are becoming very, very, your eyes are opened up to the fact that there's a very tender part to you that needs to be filled. And then this masculine energy usually takes over and fixates on something and is very stubborn and rigid, but masculine energy is in this quincunx. And you know, to me, what this suggests is that you've got to stop letting ego make so many of your decisions. And you've got to start making decisions based on emotion and intuition. I think is going to be incredibly important in this energy. It's a very healing time. I think there's a lot of risk involved in this energy, a risk involved in every decision you make. It could go definitely one of two ways. But remember, the new moon is all about new beginnings. And then the first quarter of the moon is about taking a look and reassessing, have we made all the right decisions? Maybe you were compelled emotionally to make a different decision. And then as we got to the quarter of the moon, you're like, well, I think I'm going about it the wrong way because I'm not getting my desired results. So you have to kind of, but it's a reevaluation period, and then you've got to take a risk and you've got to move in a different direction. This energy, when Mercury goes into Gemini at the same time that this first quarter moon, it's easy for you to adapt and go into a completely different direction. If that's what you're being compelled and intuitively guided to do, I think it is very, very important. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi Geminis, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Mercury moving into Gemini. At the same time that we have our first quarter of the moon, at the same time we have a yod that forms today. So today is a very big day. It's a very energetic day. So, you know, you're going to be concentrating primarily on the fact that your energy is shifting into your ruler. So Mercury is moving into Gemini. So this is a very resilient time for you. It's a very fated, karmic, destined time for you. It's a time to readjust yourself, realign yourself with a fated path that you have been always guided to be on. There is some clarity in your career, life path, destiny. I think for some of you, you deeply identify with some of the choices that you need to make at this time. I think for some of you, there is an independent nature to this energy. For some of you, you're making decisions. These are not going to be emotional-based decisions. We have a moon in Libra. We have Mercury going into Gemini. We have the sun and we have Venus in Gemini. Very emotionally detached energy. So yes, there are these emotional issues going on, but you are going to be making some decisions that you deeply identify with and that you're intuitively being guided to make that will lead you to this abundant emotional situation. So for some of you, there's a very rational and logical explanation as to what you need to do to get this desired result. You are considering all aspects, and this energy is very easy for you to consider, you know, what you tangibly want and intangibly want. The rational and logical decision, the input that's supporting these decisions. I think for some of you, you're very passionate about moving forward. And I think that there's an emotional motivation to make this decision moving forward. It's going to firm up, solidify, and ground your energy, whatever this decision is. It's very, very firm, very, very fixed, and it is all about security, securing your foundation in some way. Now, a relationship may be at stake in this in this energy. And, you know, this is a Gemini card. And it is in reverse. So to me, this is a tough decision. This is a tough time for you. This is about moving forward, staying strong, making rational and logical decisions. You have to put your emotions kind of a little bit on the back burner. And you have to take a look at things rationally and logically, because that's where the energy makes the most sense. Pros and cons. A Libra moon at the time of this first quarter of the moon suggests to me that there's a lot that you are going to have to selflessly consider. This energy suggests to me that there is a little bit of independence. So for some of you making decisions, you're going to be making these decisions on what is good for you at this time. And it will, I think, enhance your relationships and your emotional investments moving forward. But there's a selfish nature to this energy that I think is a very remarkable time. You know, I think at the very top of the yacht, we have Mars and Scorpio. And so some of you are making decisions to get treatment. Some of you are making decisions to go to counseling. Some of you are making decisions to rationally and logically take a look at these emotional situations and make some decisions. And for some of you, this is walking away from, issues that no longer serve you and toward fated karmic paths that do. For some of you, this is ending the hamster on the wheel, and you're making very precise decisions to do that. And so for some of you, there's a need to be a little selfish in this energy as you're making these decisions, because this is a strength building time for you. There's a little bit of risk involved, but the risk, I think, as you will rationality and logic supports the risks that you're going to be taking moving forward. And I think it's a very, very beautiful ordained time. Think about the fact that on the first quarter of the moon, which is a very pivotal time for this month, Mercury is going into Gemini. And so rational and logical energy starts to fulfill you. See what happens when Gemini twins get in energy is when they get moody, when they get lost in energy, when they become impulsive in decisions, is when they don't have a strong intuition. And I think, as you can tell, that in this energy, you're going to be incredibly intuitive in this energy. Now, Neptune in Pisces drops into retrograde, and I think that you will see the karmic reasoning behind some of the decisions you're making today. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi dear Cancers, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the first quarter of the moon, along with a yacht that it starts today and goes until the 17th. And then we also have Mercury moves into Gemini. So we have a lot of energy playing today. It's a very big day for you. I think that this is a very reflective state. I love this reflective state is going to have a duality about it. So it's not going to just be reflection on pain. It's like if you thought about pain, well, you would think of something pleasurable. You would think of something extremely the opposite. This energy just feels like there is an opposition that tickles your mind in this energy and entices the karmic reasoning behind this energy at this time. So you're making a decision in this beautiful first quarter of the moon. And this decision is going to be a very rational and logical decision as Mercury moves into Gemini. There is a duality, of course, with this decision, and there is something to contemplate about each side that I think is very significant. I think it's definitely heart-based. I think it's definitely a relationship bond or union for some of you. A collaboration, a companionship. Collaboration could be very important for you, for some of you that are really investing in outcomes that have nothing to do with relationships. I definitely think that this is a very reflective time for you. And as you dive into this 12th house work, one of the things that you're going to start to realize is that this is a very fated and karmic time for you. And the big picture is going to be revealed to you in this energy. There is a risk that's involved. Now remember, Mars is involved in a yacht, but for you, are having a very harmonious conversation with Mars. And so I think this question is really going to ignite that the past is definitely not the way to go. The past cycles, your past impressions, your past mindsets, they no longer seem very relevant to you. What you're really trying to do is to create some more independence in this energy. I think for some of you, you're trying to gain some strength in this energy. I think for some of you, what this deeply compels me to believe is that for some of you, what you deeply desire and what you want is to be fulfilled, both rationally and logically, but emotionally. So for some of you, there's the duality in this energy is, you know, I feel there's a lot of cups in this reading. There's a lot of cups in my reading. You know, we have the, you know, whoops, 5 of Cups is really this way on mine. The present card is very significant in this energy. You know, we have this glorious outcome closer when we get closer to the full moon. So to me, this suggests that some of the energy around emotions, this is a very volatile energy. We also have we have a mutable T-squared at the time that all of this energy is going on. So for some of you, what this could mean is, because you're caught in a mutable energy, is that there's some very big decisions that you're making. And you want to take action. You're ready to resolve these issues. You're ready to, you know, like when you get in this energy and you have the moon in Libra and you're taking a look at everything, you're very quick to make some very rational assumptions in this energy. Because when Mercury goes into Gemini energy and you feel like you're very in tune when energies go into their home-based energies. You really authenticate that energy because you're very intuitive, very, very intuitive, very, very energetically sensitive. And so I think in this energy, there's a sense of independence. There's a sense of taking a risk. There's a sense of going out there. There's a sense of, you know, moving away from the past. I think that some of you are very strong in this energy. This feels very, very strong. If you don't get caught up in the duality, and if you don't get lost in this energy, which means that if you don't get lost in the duality to where it makes you indecisive, moon in Libra can be indecisive as hell when it comes to emotional issues. If you just apply a little bit more rational and logical thought processes when you're making some of these forward moving movements in your life, or you're thinking about things, what you need to do is you need to consider all aspects of energy, because the outcome, of course, is a brand new idea, a brand new concept, an open-minded perspective. And of course, that is when Chiron comes in and starts to tickle your mind with something new, something bigger, something more hopeful, moving away from the karmic path. Past and moving toward a very significant, fulfilling future that has a tremendous opportunity for you. But you have to really embrace the energy. With so much energy going on, you can bet there's going to be a great deal of confusion when making these emotional decisions. That's why I'm going to try to encourage you to stay away from making emotional decisions. I'm a Leo on the cusp of Cancer, and when I get really super intensely emotional, the first thing I do is I try to give myself enough time to remove emotion and just apply logic to the situation, because intuitively I'm always going to make an emotional decision. But in this energy, what's super important is that you completely understand that there is more to this issue than just, the rational, logical side. There's the very intuitive side. There's this definite, I feel like there's this definite, like heart-based part to this energy that I think is incredibly crucial. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi dear Leos, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the, so we have the first quarter of the moon that's going to be in Libra. We have a mutable T-square. We have a yod that forms today until about the 17th. And we have Mercury goes into Gemini. Today is a big day, right? Today is a really big day, and your ruler is involved in the yod. So today, a yod forms, and it lasts until about the 17th. And this is what's considered by astrologers to be the finger of God. It is a very fated question. It's a very fated thought process that you're going to have. When Mercury moves into Gemini, I think it's very important that it has to be some sort of rational or logical thought process to this day when you're considering this energies. Now, at the very top of the yod, we have Mars in Scorpio, and this is going to have to do everything with home and family. I think for some of us, this could be our home, our actual physical home, like our bodies. For some of this could be our actual tangible home, so the home that we live in, or where we're choosing to live, or going back home. For some of us, this has everything to do with, I think, when I see energy like this, it's like programming from childhood, programming from how we grew up. And then with the base of this, we have this beautiful harmonious conversation between Uranus, and we have the Sun and Venus conjunct in this energy. So this is about opening you up. It's about moving you away from karmic cycles that no longer serve you. There is no more need for them. You need to change an outcome. The change is imminent. You're making a decision in this energy for some sort of change that is needed and necessary. This is not an emotional change. This is a very rational and logical change, but intuitively guided. The kicker in this energy, the duality in this energy, is that it's actually intuitively guided, rational and logical answers. Again, we have the moon that plays a very significant role in the present. You are being intuitively guided. Your gut is telling you to do something, and it is probably having to do with an emotional-based decision. We have a lot of cups in this reading today, and it's because the moon is in Libra, and it's a very cup kind of based energy. Now, of course, cups represents water's energy, but in this energy, I think of cups as like what you want from your closest significant bonds and unions. You know, that's what Libra represents. It also represents like a very diplomatic approach to things, the pros and cons in energy. And of course, when we're thinking of that, we're thinking of rational and logical, but we're also thinking of, you know, how we are emotionally being compelled, what our intuitive nature, what our gut is telling us about these situations. Because I believe that that's much stronger. I mean, I believe that rational and logical behavior has to play into it, but I believe that there's a lot that goes into making decisions. This first quarter of the moon represents the decision. So we planted we planted a seed at the beginning, a hopeful mindset. And then, you know, we get to the first quarter of the moon, we got to make a decision. Was that a really good idea? You know, did we really make you know, what do we need to do? What do we need to change to make that grow? Is my seed growing? Is it not? If it's not growing, then what do I need to do to make a change? Like, you know, for some of us, that's opening ourselves up and taking a look at this from a different perspective and thinking, how can I still make this grow if I'm being emotionally compelled to do so? And in this energy, I think that's very relevant. Also, it has to be very rational and logical for you. I love that this energy it swings in a duality way, meaning that rational, logical energy is having the same conversation that you are emotionally, because to me that suggests, and although that can make for a very confusing conversation or confusing thoughts, it can also make for a very, I think, compelling future for you if you consider the fact that, I mean, all of our decisions have to be somewhat rational and logical. Saturn is still squaring off with Neptune. That's what that mutable T-square is all about, and Jupiter. So we have to make very rational and logical decisions at this time. I think that for some of us, this is changing habitual patterns. This is changing the past. This is changing what we've been doing for a very long time. And I think that when we're doing that, what we're doing is realigning our future. We're realigning our hopes. We're realigning our dreams and our wishes. We're realigning our social circles. Like this is very social energy. I think for some of you, this could be about talking it out, When Mercury moves into Gemini, it's talking. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of talking on all different aspects of it. It's about looking at everything from every single angle. There is no, if you're making a decision, you're contemplating it 20 different ways in this energy, which can, of course, create this tons of confusion that we have in this energy. But out of that tons of confusion, as we're considering all of these different angles, one of the things I find important is that we're looking at it from an emotional aspect. We're looking at it from a very conservative, very consistent, very grounded approach. We're looking at it at a very, very passionate, heart-based level. Of course, that's, you know, the Leo side, but we're also looking at it very rationally and logically. And through that comes a new idea, a new concept, a new hope from that particular conversation that you have. I believe that this is a very independent energy, although it could have to do with some of our closest bonds and unions. I believe that what it signifies to you is that you need to make some definite decisions that kind of open you up and make you look at this from a lot of different perspectives. You can get so caught up in your perspective that you're not considering other people's perspective, because other people's perspective is your mirror of where you're at. So we've got to always think of that in this energy. At the top of the yod, we have Mars in Scorpio. And so when we're making this very important decision, and when we're taking a look at it from 20 different angles, as far as that we have this Mercury going on, one of the things that we really need to take a look at is, does this have anything to do with how we were past programmed? Again, walking away from the past is very important. When I look, I have to go like this to make it look like what I see. In the past, we had passions, but I think that they were very short-lived, and they didn't produce anything incredibly consistently valuable. Moving forward, take a look at this, guys. Take a look at the fact how long this passionate staff is. It's very energizing. And the fact that it is so close to the world is at your fingertips. The decision that you make moving forward to move forward is very important. But of course, that's what that yod, honey, is all about, is stop staying stuck in the past, stop staying stuck in conditional programming, you know, and start moving toward a very independent mindset that's broad and open. And then, of course, consider the fact that in these social circles, you want to portray somebody who is open and honest and forthcoming and is very intuitively guided. And this is, you're very directional, forward directional. And of course you can lead consistently that way if you have this type of mindset, and Jupiter can expand that. Don't get caught up in the superficial value in this energy. I want you to be mindful of the fact that, yes, you probably are at the king of your helm right now. This is a very beautiful card, a very grounding card. To me, it suggests very strong roots. You're very firm in this idea. You're very firm in this process, or you're very firm at where you're at as far as in what you tangibly want and intangibly want. But to me, there is some sort of message, some sort of intuitive guided energy that is having you reconsider a very big con in this energy, a very big emotional con to this energy. And I believe that it will have you consider both the masculine and the feminine aspect to this. There is some duality that was going to be a little bit confusing. You're going to have a lot of faith in forward movement, moving forward. But I believe this is a very beautiful karmic time for you. Making this decision, I believe, has to incorporate both logic and your emotional, intuitive barometer within you, because there's some big stuff on the table here. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading, dear Virgos. We have the first quarter of the moon. We have Mercury going into Gemini, and then we also have a yod that forms today until the 17th, and we have a mutable T-square. So yeah, we got a little bit going on today. So today when we have the first quarter of the moon, that is, we take a look at what we planted at the beginning and we take a look at it and we think, did it work out? Was it, did it produce the desired results that we were hoping for, right? And we evaluate it, and if we decide that there is something about this that isn't working out, which I believe so, I believe that for many of us, there's something that we need to balance out in this energy. Of course, to me, Libra energy always represents balance, peace, and harmony. So there's definitely a little bit of opposition here for you. And this opposition, I think, has to do with the way that you're interpreting it or taking a look at it, or maybe you're thinking about it. Maybe there is something that you need to take a look at it a little bit different way. I think you're one of the blessed energies that aren't having a lot of complexity in this particular event. I believe that you're thinking things through. This is a very elevating time for you. I believe that relationships are very healing. You're being drawn to certain people right now, drawn to significant partnerships and unions. Of course, that would be that whole moon in Libra experience. There's some growth, some potential, some excitement. I love this card for you. It's a very grounded energy. It's a very earth-based energy. It's very magnificent. It means that you're making some very good decisions. They're very consistent. They're providing you with some growth and some strength and you're holding something that you want in your hands, meaning there's a sense of accomplishment in this energy. I believe that some of you are being highly intuitively guided. You're following your gut. You're moving. There's a sense of independence and a little bit of an emotional disconnect for me in this energy when I feel you, because you're so intuitively guided. There's something bigger that not everybody completely understands in this energy. Very abundant, though inevitably, as we build up to that cumulative ending of these last couple months, because we have that first Sagittarius full moon, and then now we're going to have that second full moon. There's a very abundant energy that comes from this. There's an emotional content to this energy. So anytime you look at the emotional aspect of it, there is something that I think there's a hidden message. There's a hidden feeling, an intuitively guided feeling that I think at first you're not going to see, but as we get closer to that full moon and as it builds up to the full moon, I believe that you're going to hear something that is going to compel your intuition to take a look at things in a little bit different perspective, very new perspective regarding this situation. I believe that in the past, there's a lot of cups in my reading. So to me, there's a lot of emotional situations. I feel like you want to stay away from the emotional issues. I feel like what you're wanting to do in this energy, because Mercury is in Gemini, you're very compelled to think very rational and logical because you are ruled by Mercury and it's in its home energy. You're going to want to take a look at things from the two sides of the rational and logical energy. But of course, there's this very intuitively energy that you're going to be picking up on that I think will slip into your decision making, whether you want it to or not. This first quarter of the moon has some very pleasurable energy for you. I think you're highly intuitively guided to make some very good decisions. Some of this is about what you deeply want and what you deeply value. I feel when I feel you, I feel like this is almost on a very superficial, tangible level for you. I think anytime you get into the emotional area, there is some area of where you're desiring to be a little bit more independent in your thought processes. You're very independent. I feel like you're kind of on your own in this energy. The decisions that you're making them. I'm not saying that you're making them based on only you, but you're making them based on very rational thought processes, and that leads you into some tremendously beautiful growth. It leads you to enlightenment. It leads you to take a look at everything that you have, what you're passionate about, this very important tangible or intangible item that you want. it has to be as emotionally compelling as you once thought it was. And then, of course, does reason and logic support this idea? It's a very magical energy for you, because I believe that it's a very transformative time for you, because what this is doing is kind of auto-correcting your career, life path, destiny, because it's aligning you with what you value, and what you value is security and consistency and longevity. The Earth trine was very beautiful for you. It was very revealing, very eye-opening for you. And I believe that for some of you, there was some clarity. When we had that Earth trine, I believe that there was a lot of clarity, that you are ready to make some decisions to kind of move away from some of these old emotional issues that no longer serve you, and kind of move toward a more rational, logical way to go about this. Of course, you have to be very passionate about this, because whatever you're passionate about, you will have the world at your fingertips. I promise you. So make sure that whatever you're moving toward is not just rational and logical and makes sense to everybody around you, so you're following what they say. This has to be what is absolutely intuitively guided for you to feel, because you're very passionate. It has to evoke a certain amount of emotions, and I know you want to be very rational and logical in this energy, but somehow I feel like you're making very important decisions. I think that this is a very communicative energy. I believe that even though you're applying a lot of reason and logic into this, but you're trying to make some sense of things in this energy. And so I believe that, I believe that having conversations with highly emotional people is not advisable. Please try to have conversations with people that are much more rational and logical. Somebody that's very disconnected emotionally, don't go talk to people that you're highly emotionally invested in, because you're going to be very sensitive to their heart, and it's going to be very confusing for you, especially if it's a relationship. I think that it's just best to seek out authority figure, seek out somebody who's been through this before, somebody who's very consistent in your life, who provides you a lot of, just rock solid support, and they have some very important infinite wisdom that could be shared during this time. We have a yacht at this time, so we have this very important question about what you deeply identify with. It has to do with the past, but more importantly, it has to do with some of the dualistic mindsets of the future moving forward. It has to do with what you deeply desire and in your closest bonds and unions. So for some of you, you're looking at things from a whole different perspective, and it's very revealing. And you're taking a look at the past, and you're wondering maybe how you could have missed what you're seeing right now. It is an amazing time of growth and expansion. It really liberates some of the energy that really has been holding you back. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi Libras, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Mercury moving into Gemini. At the same time, we have a yod that forms today until the 17th, and we also have the first quarter of the moon. So today is decision-making time. The first quarter of the moon deeply resonates with you, deeply resonates. A decision that you make right now deeply resonates with you. You identify with this energy. I think you're very, very intuitively compelled in this energy to make some decisions. This is a very hard conversation that you're going to have with yourself. This energy is going to expand the details. It's going to expand the way that you look at things. It's going to expand the complexity and the duality of this situation. I think what's very difficult is you're very, very selfish in this energy about what you want and about what you desire from your closest bonds and relationships. And the duality in some of these bonds and these relationships is frustrating for you, because there's a rational and a logical solution to this situation. And I think that you're deeply compelled to want to point out, because I think it's of great interest of you to do so. I think Mercury moving into Gemini is going to open you up and expand you to take a look at this from a couple of different perspectives. I think you need to take a look at the duality in this situation and kind of validate each side of it. It can be difficult because I think that for you, I feel like some of you feel like they don't have a choice. I feel like you're being intuitively guided, but there is but logic and rational thinking keeps getting in the way of what you're being compelled intuitively to have a conversation about. This energy has to do with communication and communicating about your feelings, communicating about what's working and what's not working, right? Because that is the energy that is that first quarter of the moon. It's all about the energy that's what's working and what doesn't work for you anymore. It's about deciphering all of this energy, deciphering your intuitive, compelling nature at this time. There's a lot of energy right now leading up to today because tomorrow, Neptune in Pisces retrogrades. And so I believe that you need to face the reality of the situation. Saturn is going to compel you to face the reality of this. I think you are intuitively guided to know that moving forward is definitely compelling. And moving away from the past emotional deficiencies are the way to go. I think moving forward is very, very abundant, very, very happy, very, very forthcoming in this energy. I believe that's what's difficult for you is I believe that there's some sort of fear that every time I think you want to compel things to move forward and have these forward conversations and these almost emotional based conversations, it's always met with supreme disappointment. And then I feel like somebody manipulates you logically. I think there's a manipulation in this energy, and I don't know why I'm picking this up out of your energy. Well, we do have this yod going on. And so I believe what this is trying to get you to do is define what you deeply value, define why you value it. Well, what you value is what you've been intuitively being built up to in this energy. There's been a lot of compelling energy for you to make some very positive changes. But people can talk you out of making those changes or having those difficult conversations or starting those conversations. And then they kind of talk you out of it with they kind of seduce you with the rational and the logical information. But intuitively, I think that your gut completely understands what you need to do. And there's a sense of, you need to stand up and stand firm and stand tall for this emotional issue to be resolved. And to have these difficult conversations because there's a lot of confusion around emotion right now. There's a lot of confusion because it seems rational and logical to make different decisions, but then you're like almost compelled to make like some sort of emotional based decision. If you have these difficult conversations, and believe this is a fated time right now, we have a very significant yod. It's going to stick around until the 17th. So it starts on the 12th and sticks around until the 17th. And so what you're trying to do is become emotionally abundant, fulfilled, very, this energy is so beautiful. But what's very difficult is before I think you get to that point, you have to value this situation enough. You have to stand by what you value. You have to, I think, in some way, I think you need to be compelled to fight for what you value. Maybe not in that fighting sense, but in that sense of just a strong presence, a firm presence, a very firm point of view in this. I'm not going to lower my standards in this energy because I value me enough to not waver in this particular issue to get some sort of small minuscule emotional fulfillment. Like I want the whole Monty. Like I want it all. And I think you feel very deserving in this energy for that. Now this is going going to lie in the fact that you are caught in a quincunx in this energy. Mars and Scorpio is at the top of this yod, and it is being and you're being very rational and logical, and you're trying to weigh out the pros and cons, and you're trying to look at it from their perspective and your perspective, because you have this first quarter of the moon. You're trying to look at things. You're trying to, you're not trying to be impatient. You're trying, you see the big picture. You think that it could come to you eventually, so why make a lot of big decisions right now? There's a lot of confusion. But I think you keep being compelled by this energy, this firm foundation, this firm structure, this energy. It resonates with you. It deeply resonates with you, this grounded energy, this getting what you want, it's mine, it's all mine. I've had the conversation, I'm getting what I want, and now what I wanted, it's mine. And I think you're going to feel very compelled to have that it's mine, because we have in this yod, we have the sun in Gemini and Venus in Gemini, and it's all about that energy that wants what it wants, and it wants it right now, very superficial energy. You're going to be very compelled to stand up in your relationships and to speak authoritatively and to kind of be demanding in this energy to get what you want. It's not about losing your voice in this energy. It's about gaining your voice. It's about following your intuition. It's about taking a look at it. And if somebody's trying to manipulate you, you're the queen of manipulation, or king. And so if somebody tries to do that, just have those difficult conversations that let them know exactly who is an authoritative figure in this whole manipulation of words and thoughts. And like, you've been doing this forever. This is about your analytical abilities to overcome emotional issues. You got to be smart in this energy. And with Mercury moving into Gemini, it's very easy for you to divert. Like, it's like, okay, you want to play? Let's play. Like, I get the game. I'm cat and mouse in this game. And so you could divert easily in this energy. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Scorpios. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Mercury moving into Gemini. It's the first quarter of the moon, and then we have your ruler is going to be in a yod today, and it's going to last until the 17th. So we have a lot of energy, a lot. The first quarter of the moon usually represents some sort of significant decision that we're trying to make. So we planted our seeds at the beginning of the new moon, and then when we get to this quarter of the moon, we're kind of taking a look at everything. I think we're very rational and logical in this energy because we have Mercury moving into Gemini, which suggests to me that you're about to make some very significant decisions, make some decisions that start to evoke some change in some of these aspects. I think that this is moving you definitely away from the past. I think what does not resonate with you is some situations. What you don't identify with is some of the situations that have been happening in your past, and you're desiring to move forward in energy. But there is a reflective state, a reflective cycle in this energy. You do have both of your rulers in reflective states, which means I believe that there's a pull to the past. So I believe for you, the duality in this energy is that there's a past and a present mindset, and both of them have some sort of rational and logical motivation. So there could be some very compelling karmic lessons learned from the past. We also have a mutable T-square at this time. And so we're really holding on to that for some of us because, that whole Mars aspect. And so Mars right now being involved in this very big yod is the past you deeply identified with. And I believe that for some of you, it's really hard to let go of the past or something that you identified with in the past. As you move forward, there's a sense that you've got to create some sort of forward energy. You've got to change the way that you think and what you identify with habitually, I think. And then I think for some of you, it's about looking at it and making the adequate changes, making those investments, making those, and I believe this energy kind of feels radical at a point when I don't feel like you feel like you're very radical. You're very depleted, you're very kind of tired, I think you just want to lay low, sweet chariot. But in this energy, I think you're being pushed to do something you kind of don't want to do, or you're being motivated to do something that you kind of don't want to be motivated to do. Or I think that for some of you, it's just very, you want to stay blind to it because you know what, then you have to have all this rational and logical questions and have to have all these conversations you don't want to have. And you know what, intuitively, you know what, I know you're being guided. I just don't think that you want to deal. So that could be the quincunx in this energy, is that you just, it's hard to identify with the choices you got to make when your planets are in retrograde and you're depleted. You're a little bit off. You're a little bit tired. You're a little bit cranky. You're a little bit irritable. I mean, this energy just, it's like you're caged beast. Like you're in this cage and you can see what you need to do, but you somehow have some sort of restriction imposed on you at this time, or some sort of obstacle that prevents you from doing this. And so then you go into reflection and you kind of get lost in all the energy. I see a lot of blue in this energy when I look at this reading. So for me, I don't see darkness. I see a lot of very positive blue light, which is very beautiful. I see that you need to purify some emotional issues. I think you need to purify your mind. You really need to be near water sources. I think you really need to be near these water sources by yourself. I think that this is a time when I think it would be very good for you to be alone and just almost be like bathing in water or just swimming in water. And just, I think it's going to clear some of this energy, this confusing energy for you. I don't know why I say that, but I do. I just can't. I feel the water, like in your reading. I like feel the water. I feel floating. I feel like if you did that, it would feel so freaking good. Like I can't even tell you how good it feels for me anyway. Gemini energy, there's a dualistic nature to this. There's a lot of confusion, and when you get confused, you get cranky as hell. And so I think if you get near this water source, even if you just go swimming at a public pool, if you do not have a water source or something, you really need to get into water. And I believe that there's going to just be some clarity, some sort of peace that's associated with that. I believe that change is inevitable, change is coming, and the decision that you have to make is very confusing. And I believe that there's a certain amount of risk involved with it because it's very new energy, or it's a very new concept, or a very new mindset, or a very new routine, or it's so hard because I feel like you're resisting in this energy. There is a karmic destiny that I think is very important in this. We're going to have Neptune go into Pisces. Neptune and Pisces go into retrograde tomorrow. I believe that if some of you are struggling with the amount of water energy that's consuming the situation and the depth of this energy, and the fact that, you've had so much go on, it has really evoked water and volatility of emotion and volatility of perspective and emotional waves and a lack of stability. I know that for some of you, once you make whatever decision it's going to make, it's going to calm this and it's going to get you to this result, which is just a firm, stable security. You resonate deeply with here. This will solidify Pluto. energy, you know, because it's a very earthbound energy in Capricorn. So it just feels very solid to me, very solid and stable. But I think that there's some emotional situation where you have to make a very important judgment call. I feel like for some of you, and you have to consider the pros and cons. I mean, you have to consider what's fair and harmonious and just for all. And there's a lot at stake, I feel, for you. And I feel like there's a lot of buildup. Like you're very sensitive about this topic for some of you. Now, again, when we have a yod, we have to enter your energy at the top of the yod into quincunxes. So, of course, I'm going to feel like this is a very deep issue for you. The 8th house is very substantial for you in this energy, because what I think it does is it compels you to want to make these changes because it's your guided house and it's guided, you're being guided to do so. I just think that making these firm commitments is something that I don't think that you're being, like, I believe that you're being guided to, but I don't believe that emotionally you can quite commit to these situations, I think, as firmly as you want to. And how could you? Because you have a dualistic mindset. We have Mercury going into Gemini. We have Venus in Gemini. We have the Sun in Gemini. So we have a lot of duality. And so there's something that you'll, look, all this energy is leading up to a very cumulative of energy. It's 2 months of energy that's been building up to the full moon. I think the full moon is going to be incredibly, incredibly significant to you. I feel it's going to pull you away from this. I would wait to make any significant decisions until the full moon for you. I think it's going to be very clarifying because there's going to be so much energy pulling you in so many different directions. And there is a very fated karmic question, and I think you feel it and you know it. And so there's a lot on the line right now. It's a very beautiful energy. Again, this yod sticks around until the 17th. It sticks around for like 5 days. And so you're going to go through a contemplative time for quite some time. So just let this situation happen. Let this energy fill you. Let it stir up energy. Let it take a look at things. Communicate, talk in this energy. I think that it will help decipher some of the energy that you are feeling and absorbing and being intuitively guided to feel at this time. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Mercury moving into Gemini and the first quarter of the moon that is going to be in Libra. We also have a yod that forms today until the 17th, and then we have a mutable T-square. So we have a lot of energy, a lot. Your ruler is actually involved in the mutable T-square. So decisions today, decisions are very important as we have this yod that forms, and this yod is a question, a significant fated karmic question that happens in the universe. At the very top of this, we have Mars in Scorpio, which is in retrograde. We have Uranus in Aries, and we have the Sun and Venus in that are conjunct right now. So we have a lot of energy asking us to make some very important decisions, but there's a duality aspect to it. There's a duality to what we desire, and there's a duality to our closest bonds, relationships, and unions. There's a duality to some sort of money situation that we are really investing in. So we have to make a decision. We have a lot to think about. When we get the swords, we think about things. We get information. It is very elevated. It's elevating us on a very rational and very logical level. I believe what's very important is that, you're trying to turn a blind eye to your intuition in this energy when it first starts out, because there's a sense that we need to get some control over these emotional issues, and that I don't feel in this energy that you can do unless you kind of block out what you're being intuitively guided to do. because there's so much energy swirling about these emotional issues. It's like, I think it would be almost hard to decipher what the true emotional resolution is in this energy. So I think for some of you, relationships are providing a little bit of a challenge. Relationships, significant bonds, unions, maybe money, maybe some sort of the way that you look and view money, how important money is to you, the pleasure that you associate with money somehow has something to do with it, what you desire on a very superficial level. I think in any sort of extreme that you have to take a look at it as well. Saturn is not into extremes. Saturn is into moderation. It's into control. It's into consistency and longevity, and it's into karmic outcomes. And so it is squaring off with your ruler and squaring off with Neptune, having you be forthcoming, pulling things out of the darkness, revealing it in this energy, and having you face these situations, these very fated, it's a very fated time for you. And I believe that when we do that, I think one of the most difficult things we have to do is we have to take a look at our intuition, at the significant message that's being unveiled at this time. And the significant message has to do with making you feel very emotionally abundant and full and energized. But I think at the same time, when we have this mutable T-square, there is a lot of confusion, because you're wanting to expand. At the same time, you're being constricted. And that is because there's some, you have to think about things. There's something needs to be revealed. You have to see something that isn't obvious in this energy, that I think is very important at this time. Now, the past is kind of pulling you back a little bit. There is some sort of healing that is coming at this time, but the past can be very difficult to face in this energy, as some of the past may have to do with very old issues that go back to childhood, past programming, just the way that you were always programmed to take a look at your life moving forward, or take a look at you, or take a look at your relationships, or take a, what you aligned with. Like, I think you're going to drastically feel like those things are going to significantly change moving forward. In this energy of this new moon, of this first quarter of the moon, the first quarter of the moon represents growth. It represents taking a look at things analytically, looking at it, making sure that all of our investments that we made, if we planted it in the right soil, our idea, or if we nurtured it in the right way, or if we added the right amendments, like that's super important right now. And if we didn't, it's not growing, it's not flourishing, it's not abundant right now. And there's confusion associated with why. What am I doing wrong? Why is it so hard? Like, what's not making it abundant? And then, there's this, and you see it as this, but I think it's very difficult to get it to that abundant status. So in this energy, there's this epiphany, because we have so many energies aspecting us at the same time. I think we're motivated to consider all aspects. We're not rigid and stuck in our belief systems, and we're not holding on to things, past programming, because we know that those things don't work. And this is a very beautiful, very magical, very forward energy. It's it's an awakening. It's an epiphany. It's a very enlightened in this energy, and it represents that new concept, that new hope, that, okay, well, if I just do this, maybe that's the missing component to this hopeful mindset. Again, we're in a yod, and the yod, Mars is at the top of the yod. And when Mars is at the top of the yod, it's in Scorpio. There's an intensity, there's a desire, it's brewing, it's deep, there's a lot going on in this energy. that's compelling you to think about what you value and your career, life, path, destiny, and your relationships, and merge all of those, and merging all of those to create a cohesive new beginning, to be rewarding, to merge everything. What you want tangibly and intelligibly, what you hope for emotionally, what you're super passionate about, and what makes rational and logical sense. I feel like you can have it all in this energy, but I believe that there is maybe something that you're not seeing. There's some sort of confusion. There's something that will be revealed in this energy that you hadn't actually anticipated would be, but it's a very important component. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Capricorn. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Mercury moving into Gemini. At the same time, we have the first quarter of the moon. It's going to be in Libra, and we have a mutable T-square, and we have a yod that forms today, and that yod is going to stick around until the 17th. So we have a ton of energy aspecting you, confusing you, making you think of a lot of different aspects in your life. Your ruler is involved in this mutable T-square, so there's a lot of intense confusion. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of intensity around some of the decisions that you're making, especially if they have emotional components to them. I think for many of you, this is problem-solving energy. You're taking a look at some of the things that you had. So for some of you, you made decisions at the new moon, and you put a lot of energy into this since then. Between the new moon and the first quarter of the moon, you put a lot of energy into something. And you're trying to make a lot of different decisions. You're trying to be elevating in this energy. You're trying to make very superficial, very logical, very rational decisions. But you're also deep. You feel these things too. Energetically, there's something in this energy that I feel like you deeply feel this issue. There's a lot of cups on the table when I look at this reading. I think more will be revealed as we're moving forward, as we're moving through this process. I think more will be revealed. I think it's not so rational and logical, as I think that there's an intuitive component to this. I think that this is a very significant cycle for you, this transit building up to the cumulative full moon of the last couple months, because we had a full moon in Sagittarius, and now we have another full moon in Sagittarius building. And so I think it's very difficult. I just feel like there's something more that we'll see. We'll get a greater understanding. Something will be revealed that will make these decisions a lot easier moving forward. I think that for some of you, what you're deeply compassionate about, you're very compelled to start making decisions about. I think that this is going to bring family closer. I feel deeply that there is a very abundant energy that can manifest from all of this energy. I believe that I keep feeling like deeply intuitively guided. I believe that emotionally it's so weird because it's such a rational and logical energy. When you have the moon in Libra, and you have, for the first quarter of the moon, and when you have the sun in Gemini, and you have Venus in Gemini, and you have Mercury in Gemini, it should just be all rational and logical thinking. But I'm feeling like there's a deeply emotional issue that you are revisiting. The emotions are adding some confusion to ration and logic. So you're having to take a look at something that's an emotional issue. And naturally you're being compelled in this energy to be highly rational and logical, very problem solving. You can solve this problem in about 5 minutes. But there's an emotional component to this energy that is going to, I think, believe it or not, open you up emotionally deeper, on a deeper level than I think that you're going to anticipate as you move through this energy, as you move through this contemplative time and this transit. I believe it's a very fated and karmic time for you. Saturn is in Sagittarius at the top of this mutable T-square, of course, creating a ton of confusion about all these emotional issues, or about how to solve emotional issues, or there's maybe some different aspects to this emotional issue that you hadn't really considered, and you have to consider in this energy. I believe that you are the strong one in this energy. I believe that many of these decisions you are going to be making, it's going to be like you're going to be seeking a higher purpose, a higher being, a more spiritual look at it. It's not so rational and logical. It's like you're being compelled to to deal with this emotional issue in a much more elevated facet. It's like, for you, you're so cut and dry. For you, you're like, I can make this decision tomorrow. Like, here's what you got to do. Let's just do it. Get it done. Like, because you can always, like, you're super goal oriented, but there's an emotional component to this energy. It's very difficult for you because you're there's two components. It's a dualistic energy, and Gemini energy is in opposition right now because it's, it's involved in a mutable T-square. It's involved in the yod in this energy, in a quincunx. So for me, what this suggests is that the duality in this energy is this very masculine and feminine approach to it. It's like you could maybe have this domineering, masculine, authoritative issue to this very feminine, very topic, and it's almost like you have to be very mindful of the way that you communicate in this energy. Do not communicate on a very emotionally disconnected level. When you're communicating, you have to consider, again, and I said this before, I'm going to say it again because the energy is compelling me to, please consider communication on all levels. It has to have an emotional component. It has to have a passionate component. It has to have a very rational and logical component. But you have to communicate on these levels, and it's very difficult. I do a job where all I do, like pretty much my entire life, has been about communication, as it would be about a Gemini rising. And it's very difficult because some people communicate just all emotion, that every decision they ever make is an emotional based decision, and then some people don't make any emotional decisions. They make decisions based on logic, and that in itself can be a skew. And then some people are just like in the moment, passionate, just forward in all different directions. That can be very difficult too. And then some people are just very cut and dry, very focused on tangible needs and wants, and they make decisions just based on that. Like, they don't care. Like, it's not about people, it's not about things, it's about just, what do I want? I want to get what I want. And so in this energy, it really pulls you in all of these directions to try to get you to be a better problem solver. I think in this, you have to do a lot of deciphering in this energy. You have to kind of do it on the fly. You have to be very, very elevated in this energy. It's really going to challenge your communication style, communication skills. I think in this energy, you're going to make very rational and logical decisions, but you're going to find that that's not so easy to put in place when you're dealing with emotional issues. Remember, we want emotional abundance, fulfillment. We want the desired results. And in order to do that, I want to feel like you're dealing with somebody who is very childlike, youth-minded, inexperienced, and makes very, very superficial emotional decisions. And so I think for some of you, it's very hard because, here you are, this stern, strong, grounded, you're experienced, you're very authoritative, and, you're just dealing with this, with this just youthful mind that's just, it is very difficult, but I feel like you are emotionally invested in this situation enough to want to make some of these decisions, to take a risk on something that you may have given up in the past about, but you want to move forward with, because there's some new energy stirring, some new hope, some new optimism. Perhaps, I think if you take a look at from all different perspectives and you consider it in a different way, there's a really new, I think you're very integral. I think you're very important to solving this problem, and you're the elevated being in this situation. I believe that for some of you, you're going to lead this situation in the right direction if you really elevate yourself. Now, if you get caught up in the mutable T-square in this energy, the negative vibration of this, of course you're going to lower yourself to demand what you want. You're not going to follow your intuition at all, and you're going to solve these things the way that you always have, and you'll be that hamster on the wheel, that karmic hamster on the wheel, which I think is super unfortunate, because this is all a period of growth. It's a period of growth for the people that you're trying to help, or the situation that you're trying to solve. But I think it's a huge growth cycle for you, which I don't think that you see at this time, but believe me, will come very evident. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, Aquarius. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Mercury moving into Gemini, and we have the first quarter of the moon in Libra, and we have a yod that forms a day until the 17th. So we have a lot of energy. So you're very challenged in this energy. First of all, your ruler is involved in the yod. The yod is a very fated, karmic, destined question at this time. Mars is at the top of the yod, and your energy can have a lovely conversation with all of this Gemini energy about growth and expansion, and looking at things two different ways, and a lot of desire and a lot of like beautiful magical energy in relationships. But if you're caught in the past, you will get sucked back into being that hamster, that karmic hamster on the wheel. So you have that possibility in this energy. You also are, Saturn, your ruler, is caught in a mutable T-square. So the past is definitely not a place where you want to revisit. You reflect, you grow, you learn, but please do not spend any time in the past as far as investing in your future, because I definitely feel it adds a lot of confusion. It adds a lot of complication to some of the decision that you're trying to make. I think what it does is I think you don't see you idealize some of the energy, which is what Saturn is going to be very intent on forcing you to move away from, is idealizing what you like. A lot of times when we reflect back at the past, or we remember the past, all we remember is the good. And let me tell you, it wasn't all good. And so there's a reason why your past is your past. And for sometimes we need to be this stuff needs to be a reality check. Now, intuitively, I think we're going to be guided to move forward. And I think intuitively, you're going to feel that the energy is a very forward energy. Uranus and Aries is in the sextile. You're going to feel very energetically compelled to move forward toward that really good energy, that sweet spot energy, where it's all about being superficial and fun and energetic and kind of going with the flow, and just, I mean, so much energy just around all kinds of exciting new different ways. Very, very abundant energy possible. Very, very long-term abundant emotional energy possible in this energy. But what you first got to do is you got to move forward. You have to move forward, and you have to move away from what no longer serves you. And there's an emotional component to doing this. There's a sense of loss. There's a sense of leaving something behind that I think you deeply valued at one time. I believe that it's very hard. Let's see, it's like this actually. It's very hard because you keep looking at this emotional loss that it's like you're compelled to take a look at this over and over again when there's all this full energy to be had moving forward. I believe that if you move forward, see, there was this you were very passionate about something in your past. And the question that is forming in the heavens, and logic will support this moving forward, is why are you hanging on to something that was not as opportunistic as what's moving forward is? Like, look at the world so close to this really beautiful, passionate, long staff. Like, it's holding the whole world. It's the infinite possibility. And this one has, it's a familiar possibility. You know, I understand that you're considering it, but it's not as hopeful as this other opportunity. But there is some pull, there is some situation where I think that, you know, you're having a hard time letting go in that energy. The first quarter of the moon represents a decision. We're making a decision in this energy. And this energy is very important because I believe as rational and logical as this energy is going to be, when we have the moon in Libra and we have Mercury going into Gemini, and then we have the sun and we have Venus in Gemini. We have a lot of energy helping us to make very quick decisions about what we deeply desire right now, a very superficial level. And I believe that it's like you're almost turning a blind eye. Like you are, it's like if you're rational and logical, you're going to make one decision. But if you're trying to hide from your intuition, and your intuition is telling you to make a decision, but it's almost like you're hiding from it. I feel like she's not wanting to be intuitive at all. She's wanting to be just rational and logical about the decision she should make in this energy. And again, this card to me suggests the same thing. I believe that the full moon is very significant for you. I think if you go toward the full moon, I think that full moon, that cumulative energy of the full moon. So we had the full moon in Sagittarius in May, and we have another one in June. So we have two energies in this, two full moons in the same energy. I believe it's a very clarifying moment. I believe that you walk away from a very deep, very long, emotional karmic lesson that has been going on for a very long time. Cycles, I think, for you, for some of you. Very abundant future, very full of possibilities. I love that energy when I think about you. I believe this energy is trying to get you to choose a grounded, consistent, reliable source, which kind of, I have to admit, like for you, what's really hard is your normal feeling could be about inconsistency. Like for instance, sometimes people can't leave somebody who beat them all the time because they've gotten so used to the norm of that extreme that if they were to move away from it, I don't think they would know how to function because that became their norm. I feel like for some of you, what became your norm is something that, like, when you start to move away from this, I believe that you're being compelled to make these changes to move away from whatever it is. And you're being compelled to ground your choices, and you're being compelled to take these risks. And they're rational and logical, which is what you make a lot of your decisions on. Gosh, there is this emotional component. And this is heart-based. I feel like it's like you have two decisions, maybe between two people, or maybe between the past, which was this very heart-based person, and then there's this future opportunity. They're very two different types of people, maybe for some of you. And it's like, I don't know which one I want, like what type of person I want. For you, maybe it may not even be about the people as much as you're just trying to think about what do I want, like moving forward. Like, yeah, rationally, logically, this makes sense to move forward, but I don't know if that's what I want. Like, because what I used to want, I've kind of wanted the same thing. So I think for some of you, there is a compelling need to move forward. This yacht is a very significant question. At the same time that you're in a mutable T-square, there's a lot of energy challenging you, pushing you to make this very karmic decision. Now, we're creatures of will. We don't have to. Like, we can be compelled all we want to, but we can just say no. Like, we're going to continue to do whatever we want. I believe that's very important in this energy. It's very fated. It's a very, very serious conversation that you are going to have for sure. This first quarter of the moon is significant in the fact that I think you experience a lot of great confusion here. At this point, you're confused. I think when you get to the full moon, I think it starts to level out some of this confusion. It accumulates, it brews, it percolates to the full moon. I believe the full moon is going to be a lot more clarifying for you. It's going to help you decipher all of this situation. It's going to inspire you to take a look at things from a new approach, a new perspective. It's going to inspire you to make some different decisions, whole new decisions, totally different mindsets is very important in this energy, because it's not going to be so much it's not like we're going to be compelled to make these emotional based decisions anymore. We're going to make decisions that have everything to do with consistency and longevity. Everything to do with emotional security. It has everything to do with rational and logical thought processes. And then it has everything to do with deeply passion. I think for some of you, it's redefining what you're passionate about. What we used to be compelled to be compassionate or passionate about in the past, maybe changing, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not quite as intense, or the extremes are lessening, and maybe you're starting to get a little bit bored, and maybe you got to analyze, well, what makes me so compelled to like extremes versus consistency and longevity? Like, maybe I got to revisit that. Maybe I got to take a look at that, because I know that you're an extreme person, but when you've got this type of intensity going around extremes, to me this suggests that you are trying to ground some of what you consider extremes, what you consider challenges, what you consider muting you. So this is all mutating you. This is all molding you into a different direction, to a different version of your sense of self. And so as you're doing that, that can be very, very trying and very, very difficult. Anyhow, I think a lot of clarity is going to come out of this second full moon in Sagittarius. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Pisces. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for the first quarter of the full moon. We have a yod that forms today until the 17th, and we also have Mercury goes into Gemini. Holy hell, we have a mutable T-square, and we have, I already said the yod that forms today. So we have tons of energy, tons of energy, lots of energy and mutable energy, and lots of confusion in mutable energy. So for some of you, this first quarter of the moon is about making some changes. It's about taking a look at everything and thinking, well, did the seeds that I planted, did they start to grow? Did they grow in the way that I'd hoped to? Did they flourish? Did they produce any sort of harvest? For some of you, it's about harvesting that first crop and taking a look at it. Does it need more water? Do they need to have more amendments to get bigger and grow a bigger, more abundant supply in this area? For some of you, this has to do everything about taking a look at where you're at, where you live, what's close to your home. For some of you, making some changes in your home, making your changes reflect yourself, what you deeply identify yourself to be now, the new sense of self. For some of you, this is, of course, about making decisions, and decisions are hard right now. They're very, very confusing. There's lots of options, lots of opportunities, lots of energy brewing around all of these very emotionally compelling subjects for you. I believe that you're trying to make a very significant decision. I think one very prominent decision, and you're wanting to be very rational and logical. But I think intuitively there's like this little bug in your ear that is really kind of contradicting some of the rational and logical ways that you're thinking about this particular issue. And that can be kind of frustrating. Mercury is in Gemini. The sun's in Gemini, Venus is in Gemini. Lots of Gemini energy, lots of pros and cons in energy. Then we have, of course, we have the moon in Libra, which is also big energy. That's kind of like, it adds an element of unable to make a decision because it considers two sides equally. And so, but what it does is play with a lot of different ideas. It gives you a lot of different perspectives. It gives you a lot of different ways to look at the same solution or resolution to these issues. So this is all about deciphering information. It's about inspiring new ideas. And this energy, I think that relationships are going to be key. Relationships are going to add a sense of challenge, but not difficulty, meaning it's going to inspire you to make some very positive changes in the midst of oppositions, very incredible conversations. Maybe somebody is just going to give you they're going to have a conversation with you about how you stand in the way, how you make your life deficient, and they're going to inspire you to make some new and positive changes. I think is very possible in this energy. Your mindsets must be realistic. You cannot shoot for the moon in this energy. This is not idealistic energy. This is reality energy. So these conversations may, for some of you, be very disheartening because what they're going to do is they're going to bring forth some information that is going to ground some of your choices. And that is a little bit of a disillusionment because for some of you, in order for you to make you have some forward thinking, you tend to be a little bit idealistic. The full moon, I think, is a beautiful and just there's something magical about this full moon for you. This full moon to me suggests that there's an emotional issue that I think that you will decipher. I believe that it'll bring about an accumulative ending, and it could have something to do that started back in May, even back in February, that has to do with all of this energy that's building up to this very, very, very significant second full moon in Sagittarius. So be mindful that if you're not finding the answers now, I believe that, of course, abundant and an emotionally fulfilling solution is going to come to you. It's very, very exciting energy. Just stay very realistic and don't be idealistic. And, I think authority, somebody who's very wise, is somebody who's had some significant life experience, somebody who is very solid. This could be the relationship that you're having conversations about. They make a lot of really good choices, a lot of solid choices. They're very grounded in their approach. They're very earth-based in their approaches. May have some very difficult conversations with you in order for you to take a look at a different perspective, but to ground you as well. You're going to make different decisions based on these significant conversations that you're having with somebody else. Very, very different. You're going to make a change, I think, moving forward. This is a very hopeful time if you are taking a look at the consistency, the longevity, your foundation, your structure in your life. If some of you really want to expand upon that, this is a very magical time for you. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event.